In Montana, clinics have already begun requiring proof of residency from women seeking abortion pills because they're afraid they might be pursued by out-of-state prosecutors. Of course, we should never settle for a situation where women in Minnesota have different rights than women in Missouri, or when women in Illinois have different rights than women in Texas. But with so many extreme Republicans racing to state capitals to be the first to take away women's rights, it's clear we must explicitly protect the right to travel to other states to access reproductive care.
Just as some Republican-led states look to advance policies that would make it a crime for their residents to receive an abortion anywhere, Senate Republicans this week blocked a Democratic bill that would guarantee the constitutional right to travel across state lines to access reproductive care. Joining me now is Senator Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota. She is also a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Senator Klobuchar, welcome back to the Sunday show.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Now that Senate Republicans have blocked this bill, what can be done to protect the right to travel for reproductive care?
This bill actually just passed the House, and it did pick up 3 Republican votes, but every other one of them voted against it. And I think what needs to be done, number one, go to the ballot box in November, make sure that we add at least 2 Democratic senators, and we have strong possibilities in everywhere from Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, North Carolina, Florida, Ohio, you name it. So that's number one. So we can codify Roe v. Wade into law. And number 2, we're not going to give up on this. Look at what just happened, Jonathan, a 10-year-old girl. And at first they said that people were making it up. As a former prosecutor, I sadly know that these kinds of child rape cases happen way more than people would even believe. A 10-year-old girl in black and white. The complaint was filed in the state of Ohio showing that she was raped. Her rapist charged. She got pregnant, and she couldn't even get her health care in Ohio because of the draconian law that they had passed. She had to cross state lines to Indiana. So if that isn't enough of a reason of why we want to pass a law that makes it clear that women and girls have a right to travel across state lines to get their reproductive health care, I don't know what other evidence you need. But yet we have it. Missouri, a law that was introduced, a bill that was introduced that would allow people to be sued if they help people to travel across state lines. Texas, preparing a bill that would allow the prosecutors to prosecute companies that somehow provide resources to allow women to access health care across state lines. This is what we're dealing with this patchwork of laws, governors running, Republican governors, to the State House to see who can be first to pass the most draconian law that doesn't even have exceptions for rape and incest.
You know, you anticipated my question about the 10-year-old girl who was raped and was forced to travel to Indiana for an abortion. And I'm just wondering, Senator, do you think the American people are ready for the parade of horrible situations that they are about to be confronted with as a result of the Supreme Court overturning Roe and as a result of as you say, Republican governors and state legislatures around the country racing to be more draconian than the next?
I don't think they are, because when you look at the history of America, this is the first time we've had a case like this where it took away people's rights, where young women like my daughter now have less rights than her mom has or her grandma had. That's what we're dealing with right now. So, no, I don't think that they're ready for this. I don't think talking to the health care providers, the woman that heads up the Fargo Red River Clinic, who's now has to resort to a GoFundMe page to be able to move her clinic to Moorhead, Minnesota, which is happening right now, that is happening because one state's going to ban abortion. Literally, it has been now, I think, 20-some days since this Dobbs decision came out, and we already have over 20 states that have already banned abortion or said they're going to ban abortion. And when these horrific, just mind-boggling, tragic cases involving child rape come before us, maybe people didn't focus on them as much. They're criminal complaints, so I knew what these cases were like, as I said, when I was a prosecutor. But I don't think we ever worried about the health care that the victims were getting. This is about victims' health care. And now in some areas of the country, particularly in the South, in the Midwest, they're going to have to travel hundreds of miles just to be able to make sure that a little kid is not carrying the baby of their rapist. That is exactly what we're dealing with here.
Let me get you to go back to something you said in answer to my first question when you said the number one thing is for folks to go to the ballot box. Speaker Pelosi said that, quote, abortion rights are on the ballot. The question is, how do you turn a rallying cry into votes, and how do you overcome some significant upset, especially among the Democratic Party base, that the answer is voting as opposed to action right now? Why is giving the president and the party 2 more seats in the Senate the absolute minimum thing that must be done if we're going to do something about this?
Because I've got to be honest, that is the thing that we can do and that everyone can do that will actually give us the votes to pass the bill, because of the way that filibuster, and I think you and I have talked about this before, I would get rid of the filibuster. I want accountability like every other country has in the world in a democracy. But the immediate, yes, there is action that's being taken. As you know, the president has made it clear that put a number of things in his executive order that, of course, Republicans are already challenging, but made it clear that pharmacists must fill prescriptions. He's made it very clear using an existing law that doctors have the right to perform emergency surgery to save the life of a woman. By the way, something that the Texas Attorney General, Republican Attorney General, is already challenging, has said he's going to challenge in court. So the president is doing what he can legally do. But the answer is to codify Roe v. Wade into law and to make sure that we do not have a patchwork of laws, as I noted on the Senate floor, so that women in Minnesota don't have different rights than women in Texas, or women in Wisconsin don't have different rights than women in Massachusetts, you name it. That's what we're dealing with right now across the country.